So here's my guitar collection. This one here is actually no longer mine. I sold it to my daughter, but she's visiting, so I get to fool around with it. It's just a Korean-made Ovation, which I like. I have a hard time with the big body acoustic guitars. This thing sounds, of course, a lot better plugged in, as Ovations do, and it's actually a lot of fun to play. I kind of miss it, actually. And this one here is a Carvin that I made myself from a kit. Obviously, it's a Strat copy. And I just put it together, painted it. I got some upgraded pickups. It's got a nice bird's eye maple neck, 3 on each side headstock as opposed to the traditional Strat. Plays really well. Actually, I'd put it up against American-made Fender anytime. This one here is my pride and joy. Probably should have saved it for last. This is the second guitar I ever bought. When I decided I was going to stick with it, decided to pay some money and get a high-end guitar, I chose the Ibanez AR-2000 Artist Series, the Prestige Series, and that's vintage violin. This is a guitar I told my wife whenever I want to buy a new guitar, you can say yes, but I have to come downstairs and play this one for half an hour first, and if I still want a new guitar, I can get it. And usually I realize that this is a guitar I would dream about if I didn't have it. This one here, actually, I thank my brother-in-law. He didn't buy it for me per se, but he went and got it for me. This is it's just a little Martin made in Mexico. Not an expensive guitar, but it's a commemorative of their 175th anniversary, and this particular one was only available if you went right to the factory in Nazareth. So it's a little bit of a collector's item. This one here is an Eastman T184 MX, which I also really like. This is a hollow body guitar. It's kind of a smaller than a big hollow body, so it's kind of a hybrid. It may not sound as big as a real big jazz box, but it's a lot more versatile. You can play dirt and rock and roll, or you can play acoustic type sounds. You can kind of get it all. Cool thing about this is that Eastman is a Chinese company. These are handmade, all wood, no laminate, from a company that's not very well known in guitars, but has been making violins and other type of instruments for something like 200 or 300 years or something. This, of course, is custom made. That's just a speaker cab made by Weber. It's a Blue Alnico speaker inside. Similar to the Celestion Blue Alnico that they put in Vox AC30s. It's a 25 watt speaker that sounds excellent. This is a Black Star cab that is an interesting cab because it's a 4 8-inch speakers. Obviously these are both speakers that are best for in a house rather than on a stage, but they sound really nice. And actually I put them both together and either play them through this. Just an Epiphone. This is just Epiphone Hot Rod, which actually is my second amp. It's a tube amp, but I don't play it as much. But it's the Hot Rod version of it. These came out a few years ago and were quite popular, but this one has a reverb and a gain on it as opposed to just a traditional one. And these are just an effects kind of thing, a V-amp thing by Behringer that you can have fun with and play with, because the sound by itself is kind of less quiet. This one here is actually the amp that I've fallen in love with. A lot of people haven't heard of these yet, but a lot of people will very soon. There's a lot of big name people that have started playing them. This is a Quilter Micro Pro 200. So this is a solid state amp, although I would put it up against boutique tube amps any day of the week. You wouldn't believe the sound that comes out of this 8-inch speaker. You could actually play this on stage, no problem whatsoever, and keep up with stuff. And also, you can plug it in, so sometimes I run it through those other two cabinets as well, although those two cabinets cannot handle the power that this thing has. This happens to be the studio version that they no longer made. It's made, it's wood rather than traditional thing. They call it studio because it probably wouldn't stand up to on the road. It would get scratched up, but it looks very nice in my house. This one is a Parker. Now this is a Korean-made Parker before Ken Parker sold the company, and actually I would put this against American-made Fender Tellys. As you can see, this is like a Tele setup. Same kind of pickups and everything else. And it's got a really nice neck that's a lot of fun to play. But it also has, I can never pronounce this word, piezo, whatever pickup to make it sound acoustic, like the Parker higher end guitars. I got this, somebody they couldn't sell in the guitar place for like 500 bucks, tax in. And again, I would put it up against some nice tellies. And with the acoustic sound, it's a lot of fun. This one here was my very first guitar that I bought. Just a kind of a plain Jane starter guitar, SA-160 by Ibanez, kind of meant to be like a super strat thing. Has a fast neck, and I actually took out the pickups and put in some Tom Anderson pickups. So the pickups on this thing are actually probably worth as much as the guitar. It does have a nice sound, but I sometimes wonder about taking the pickups out. Probably too much pickup for the guitar. But at the end of the day, it's my first guitar, so I have a hard time selling guitars. Every time I've sold one, I've regretted it. This one here is interesting. I bought this one when I was on a trip, on a cruise. I didn't want to travel with my more expensive guitars. So this is an Epiphone SG Special. This is like the cheapest SG you can buy. I think it was 160 bucks that I paid for it. I paid for it with, bought it to go on a cruise with the intention of selling it at a swap shop when I got back and figuring it would be like renting a guitar. But actually, surprisingly, this guitar plays really well, and I kept it. And what I did is I upgraded the neck pickup with a Rockfield pickup, which is really hot and sounds great. And I took the pickup that used to be in this Ibanez at the, at the bridge position and put it in here. The pickups don't really match. I usually play it just in the neck pickup, but it sounds really good and plays surprisingly well. And this one here is another brand you may not have heard of, is Spear, which is also, I think, Chinese or whatever it is. But these, out of a guitar magazine when they were looking at guitars under a certain price, I forget now, out of 16 guitars they were comparing, this one won #1. It has Seymour Duncan pickups, it has locking, whatever those things are, tuners. It has nice, it's actually quite a beautiful guitar. Sounds and plays really good for the price. And, you know, Seymour Duncan pickups in this thing on a guitar. These are Jeff Beck signature pickups on it. Sounds really good. And this one here is a Squier, but it's the Classic Vibe Squier, which this is, what was this called again? Duosonic. Duosonic, which was, Fender put it out in the 50s. It was a student guitar that became popular, and in a Classic Vibe, which was like Squier's high-end, they put it out again, and then Classic Vibe stopped selling this one, which I always like when they do that, and I own it because it becomes a bit of a collector's item. But it's a shorter scale, and so you can really bend the strings on this. The pickups aren't really powerful, but they really capture that Fender twang. So it's kind of a, I would describe the sound as a cross between a Strat and a Tele. It's extremely light, and it's a lot of fun to play. Anyways, that's my toys. That's my man cave. So videos at 840, so this will fit on YouTube. I'll post this on Facebook. Just a boy and his toys. Bye for now.